A data center may be coming to Frankfort, Indiana, unless we speak up. Logistix Property Group is petitioning the city of Frankfort to rezone approximately 718 acres of land in order to develop a data center. The project would draw a massive 300 plus megawatts of power, and the buildings alone would occupy over 7 million square feet. An additional 115 acres south of the railroad tracks would also be needed for this project. Here's a picture they have on their website. However, I don't believe this represents the entire project. I used mapdevelopers.com to estimate how much area this picture actually is. The smaller box, which is a rough estimate of the official picture, represents a little over 200 acres. The larger one represents about 820 acres. If you don't know what a data center is, to really oversimplify, it's where all types of information from the internet are stored, usually in buildings filled with servers. As of late, there's been a huge push to develop these data centers to train and power AI in particular. According to the summary of Logistix project proposal, this data center would likely be used by one operator, though it could be split up to serve up to 4 unique operators. With how large the proposed data center is, in my opinion, it's more likely that it would be utilized by one entity, and that would likely be a large tech company. I say this because companies like Microsoft, Meta, Google, etc. make use of data centers that are smaller than this proposed one to advance their AI. Meta's largest data center spans a smaller area at 4.6 million square feet. There's a ton of info out there about the environmental impact of these super large data centers, so I won't be speaking about that in this video. Rather, I'd like to discuss the effect that these data centers have on the working class, which would include many, if not everyone watching this video. First, I want to address the tax revenue that could be generated from this project that is representing over $10 billion of total investment in real and personal property combined. According to an article by Laura Mazzuca-Tubes at buildingindiana.com, based on a typical state/community tax structure, a $1 billion data center could generate upward of $200 million in total tax revenue over a 10-year period. The city of Frankfort has the potential to significantly increase tax revenue through this project. However, we must take into account that data centers and big tech in general, with the help of our legislators, are successfully diverting an ever-increasing amount of their tax burden onto the working class and onto small business owners. Through various tax abatements and tax incentives, companies like Logistix are guarding more and more of their money from being taxed. For example, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation may award data centers exceeding an investment of $750 million sales and use tax exemptions on purchases of qualifying data center equipment and energy for up to half of a century. Additionally, local governments can award a personal property tax exemption on equipment, including servers, which is where the information is stored, software, and even electricity. Please note that I don't know enough about the elected officials here in Frankfort to definitively say that they would do that and award that, but it is an option. Second, they state that they expect to have a positive impact on the surrounding property values. But that statement is, of course, a bit vague. From what I've read, data centers often raise property values in areas where there were previously none. Whether that's a good or a bad thing depends on your circumstances, but please take all of this info with a huge grain of salt because there was a lot of conflicting info that I found while reading about all of this. In some cases, in areas where there were a lot of data centers, property taxes actually lowered. Third, they estimate that up to 350 permanent jobs will be created from this project. In my opinion, just based on reasoning, I really doubt that most, if not zero, of these jobs will be filled by residents of Frankfort. I also believe that the keywords up to are doing a lot of heavy lifting, just based on what I've read about how they're operated. For the most part, these things run and cool on their own. However, let's just say that 350 jobs are created and they're all filled by residents of Frankfort. Well, that's great for those people, but then those jobs could then be used to justify cutting thousands more across the country. In my opinion, where the real danger lies isn't in data centers themselves, but in how big tech is using them. Without a doubt, they're huge power and water guzzlers, but without them, you wouldn't be watching this very video. They power so much of what we do, and they enable explosive growth in a vast number of areas. The fact of the matter is that we can't stop them forever, but we should be limiting them, particularly for the biggest tech companies, until we're able to establish robust protections for the working class and for our environment. Big tech companies are racing to get their AI up and going, not for the good of the people, but for the greed of the executives. Across all industries, real people are being replaced by mediocre AI under the guise of restructuring. Yes, maybe AI will one day be advanced enough to replace most jobs, but it's in our best interest to let these big tech companies carry the full weight of their investments. Why should we give them handouts to cut our jobs or our pay? If anything, I'd be more than happy to make them pay extra taxes and give them special exceptions, such as for AI that is helping to identify cancer cells. Do we want America to be a country by and for the people, or by AI and for the rich? Logistix is holding a meeting today, July 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at 62 North Main Street, Frankfort, Indiana. Furthermore, Logistix petition will come for a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. on July 23rd in the City Council chambers located at 301 East Clinton Street, Frankfort, Indiana. My name's Fabian. I hope you have a good day. Bye.